Hi, I'm Chris, and in this video, we are going to talk about power supplies. Specifically, well, this is kind of applies to new, but my area of expertise is used power supplies. So this is going to be a 100% opinion piece. This is my opinion. I'm giving you my opinion after, so I probably build, I don't know, 100 computers at least a year, maybe more, probably more. If I do 10 a month, which is definitely something I do. I definitely do 10 a month or more. You're looking at 120. So compound that by 20 years I've been doing this. It's thousands. Okay. So in my experience, this is my experience. I believe Corsair is the best power supply. Now, I'm not Gamers Nexus or Hardware Unboxed or Linus or something like that. I can't pull down some giant chart that I did in my lab showing failure rates and yada, yada, yada. What I can do, though, is I can say I have worked with thousands of systems over the years. And some manufacturers I have had very few failures on. However, I have never had a Corsair fail. I have personally never had a Corsair fail. The closest I have ever gotten to having a Corsair fail was I had a Corsair that was in a random box of stuff that I got from a seller, and I got a Corsair 800 watt that did not work in that box, but I believe it failed before I got to it because there was no other explanation as to why he would have held on to that, because he had a few high-end systems, he had some mining rigs, stuff like that. So I believe that that was an already failed, potentially even mined on power supply that he had just chucked in the box. I have never had one of my own Corsairs fail. I have never put a Corsair in a system for another person and subsequently had it fail, at least not that was reported to me. So in my own systems, if I have a choice, I will always use Corsair. Now, because I deal primarily with the used market, I build a lot of my own systems with used. In fact, you know what? I have never bought a new high-end power supply, ever. My current systems, my two high-end systems right now, both have Corsair AX 1200Is in them. I am and those are 10-year-old power supplies. Now, I am not going to sit here and tell you there is no risk. I am going to sit here, though, and tell you that if you buy a good name brand and it is in good condition upon initial receipt of the item, I do not believe that there is an undue amount of risk buying used Corsair power supplies. Again, there's a risk. It is used electronics. It is not an unreasonable risk based on the failure rate I have seen. And I don't believe that you're just tossing the dice, okay? I believe that the odds are far better than a toss of the dice on a used Corsair power supply, even older ones. Personally, I would, if I had my choice between, say, a used Corsair TX 600 or 750 and a brand new thermal take off of Amazon of the same wattage, unless I had particularly good reason not to trust the seller, I would take that used 10 or 12-year-old Corsair TX over that new thermal take. I really would. I am sure there's someone, because the problem is you have a lot of people giving advice who have simply decided that it's the same argument as the paste or don't repaste your GPU. There are some people who have just decided used PSU, any risk at all, automatically bad, automatically no, automatically must be replaced. It is the same thing with used GPUs. There is a portion of the user base who has just decided they saw one fail, they've seen something bad once or twice. Used GPU, bad thermal pads, bad paste, must be redone. End of discussion. And those people aren't even worth having a discussion with. I have worked on too many used systems, thousands at this point, that I'm going to take my overall breadth of experience over those people's paranoia any day. It is what it is. There comes a point where the risk is so low, it's not really a risk. So that is my very educated opinion when it comes to power supplies. And that, I believe it applies to both used and new. Like I said, I generally don't buy new power supplies. The only time I ever buy new power supplies is when I'm buying those cheap 500 and 600 watt thermal takes off Amazon for ultra cheap builds. Aside from that, I always buy stuff like this, and I always buy it used. This is like, I think to buy a power supply comparable to this new, you're looking at something like $250, $299, something like that. So, I mean, if you're willing to take just the tiniest risk, I think it's worth it. But again, that's my opinion on the matter. You can certainly have a different, different opinion than that, and I know a lot of people will. But I hope you guys find this informative, and I hope that you find my knowledge when it comes to dealing with the secondary market to be useful to you. So, thanks for watching the video.